Hello everybody, welcome back for some more World of Warships. Today I got a double feature for you. First off, we're going to take a look at one of my favorite ships of anything I've had so far, the USS Ranger, with some few screenshots here and then some gameplay coming up in a moment. And after this battle is over, I'll introduce you to a new lady friend of mine.
Autopilot mode enabled.
So starting off here, in my Ranger, I'm going to send my strike package all the way up and around the edge of the map and go for a CV snipe, as I usually do. Right about here is where I checked and noticed that it was a Saipan as the enemy carrier. So crap. But what can you do? You gotta fight them. You gotta fight them. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking, particularly in the Ranger, to see a Saipan on the other team, because his fighters can just move so much faster than anything the Ranger has, fighters included. So if you want to engage them, that's great. They'll probably come and engage you, but they have the power to determine yes or no on every single engagement that's going to happen. Whether they are attacking or defending, they can get away unless you catch them in the middle of a fight with something else, and then you can catch up to them, no problem. But most of the time, their fighters are much faster. And of course, the one guy who's late joining in is the guy who's right in the way that I'm sailing into. So I had to slow down, but at least I didn't run into him. So that's okay. So as usual, I set a course to just keep my ship moving just in case I get discovered by something that fires torpedoes at me and I've got enough energy to maneuver. And because there is a Saipan and I'm worried about getting detected, I'm going to cluster my planes all together in one blob to lessen their detectability as much as I possibly can before I send them in, continuing on their path to go back and try to end around and find the enemy carrier. Or attack anything else that we see along the way, which also is something else I'm always watching out for, is am I going to encounter some better target or just an easier target along the way, which is definitely something to consider if you're going to try and end around CV snipe attack like this. Or just an end around attack, period, in general. So the team is doing a pretty decent job of actually kind of spreading themselves out, but staying relatively within mutual support range of each other. Not too bad, kind of pressing the enemy on all ends, not giving them a very obvious opening to move into, which is good. The team was doing really good there. Now, because I'm fighting a Saipan, I figure I'm only really going to get one good shot at a first strike. So I'm going to break up my strike group here and send two of them in on their own to go after them and bomb first, and hold back a bomber squadron and the torpedo squadron in kind of a reserve for a second wave attack. Which does two things, in my mind. It hits him, sets him on fire, hopefully he thinks that that's all that's coming to attack him. And there are his fighters, by the way, all showing up down in the southeast, and there's all three fighters, so now I know it's a triple fighter and one torpedo plane Saipan. But what my plan is the first two guys get in there and set him on fire, and then hopefully he burns his repair and extinguishes the fire, and then the cooldown time, I send in the remaining bomber squadron and the torpedo squadron, and hopefully burn or flood him out, set him on fire or flood him again. Now, like I said before, or I will go after whatever target of opportunity presents itself, and there's an AFK Colorado who is definitely I'm going to bomb, no question. Always going to do that. And there's the Saipan who gets discovered as well. So poor Squadron 4 only gets 2 hits in one fire out of all their bombs on a AFK battleship. That was disappointing. But I did hit him and I did start a fire, and it does burn for a while. So I'm going to send the rest of my guys up and around and bring them in on the Saipan, who does finally realize he's about to get attacked, but it's too late. All of his fighters are way too far away, thankfully. He's backing up, he takes the hits, and at this point I can't do much about the rest of my planes, except I send my 5 squadron down right at his fighters, hoping that he'll bait onto them and hopefully distract at least one or more. Oh, he's a bomber, that's right, it's 3 fighters and a bomber, not 3 fighters and a torpedo. My mistake. But I get my guys in as quickly as I can here, and hope that his fighters are going to bite on the bait of my number 5 squadron down there and be distracted, but of course they don't. However, they get up here and kind of the opposite of the Battle of Midway now. They bite in on my bomber unit and completely miss out on my torpedo planes, and he's moving forward again and is going to beach, and there is absolutely nothing he can do to get away from this torpedo attack as they get their torpedoes off. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful attack. And let's count the torpedoes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 out of 6, not bad at all. Now I lose my torpedo squadron, but when you take down the enemy carrier, it doesn't really matter if you lose your first torpedo squadron. At least I had 6 left to go. Well, 18 left to go. 12, sorry. 12 spares out of 18 total is what I meant. So losing 6 was not the end of the world there. It sucks, of course, but when you've got 2 more full reloads of squadrons of 6, it's not so bad when you've just eliminated a Saipan in your first strike. I was extremely pleased with that. The Colorado somehow is no longer burning, which is disappointing at best. But as my planes make it back home, the ones that did make it all the way back home, arrive back at the ship and start landing and rearming and reloading, I'm going to send them back up after the Colorado because, well, he's AFK. And not just for my own farming of damage, but also for taking him out before he does actually somehow get back into the battle. Plus, if I sink him, that's another, what is it, 40 points subtracted from the enemy score, I think? I forget exactly what it is for sinking the battleship, but regardless, it's a good thing to do no matter what. Now I've got some of my guys I'm going to let go all the way up long range to go after that Colorado, but for the most of my force now, I'm going to start using to deal with the closest threats first as they are coming in, like the Scharnhorst there, who apparently just hit me. Because my ship was just a little bit slow getting behind that island. Thankfully, he didn't do massive amounts of damage. It was pretty serious, but not like 3 citadels or 4 citadels worth. And then I did make it safely behind the island, so I was going to torpedo the Scharnhorst, but he's taken so much damage already, I figured he was going to be done by the time my torpedo planes got there. And flood damage would be better served on the Colorado. So I'm going to let the torpedo planes go in. They lost 2 of them just flying past the Scharnhorst, unfortunately. And then a third, still 4 kilometers away from the Scharnhorst, they're still taking hits. And then the Scharnhorst does finally get eliminated. But not before he sees me again and hits me again. But at least he was eliminated by the time those shots were striking home, so I'm down to half my health. Gonna target this New York here up in the north because I know the best he's got for AAA is not great. And my number 3 bomber squadron arrives at the Colorado, and again, just like the first squadron, 2 hits and 1 fire. I don't know what the deal was. They were having themselves some trouble actually striking good shots on these guys. On this guy. On the Colorado, who does actually finally start moving. So I'm trying to give him a finishing attack here. Finally get 3 bomb hits and 2 fires. And then I'm going to send my, have my guys follow number 3 squadron home to take the long way around, get 3 torpedo hits but only 1 flood. This guy just had a charmed life that he wasn't living while he was AFK. But now that all my guys are safe and clear of any possible enemy ships with AAA, I'm just going to send them directly back to the carrier. Continue moving the carrier a little farther forward, so as to be slightly closer to the battle, but still remain hidden behind the island here. Now, the Colorado has started his damage control party, of course, which is great because while he's burning and flooding and restoring health, he's just giving me more and more damage, as you can see it counting up in the upper right. Until it stops, because he got killed out from under me by another Colorado. But that's alright, because I got the bulk of the damage done on him. Whereas, whether I got the kill or not, sometimes I get annoyed by that, but in this case, dead is dead, and I got most of the damage done, which was just fine. So once all my squadrons reload again, I'm going to have them go hit the Fuso and the New York, because again, they're the farthest forward ships to deal with. And just wait for them to reload again. Reload, rearm, refuel, relaunch. I made a bit of a mistake letting that Fuso go initially, because I thought it was dead. And overfly him without bombing, and then realize that the Congo isn't finishing it, and my bomber should have just hit it and killed it as it's recovering health back. That's not a mistake I'll make ever again. I'm going to bomb the crap out of anything I see. And of course, another bomb kill that I should have gotten. Didn't get. I could have easily had 3 kills in this battle, but didn't get them. But anyway, another double torpedo strike hits home on the New York, and just enough of an angle as to not cause floods again. My torpedoes were more like real American torpedoes in this battle from World War II, with all the amount of not floods and not damage they were causing. Still, as a pretty decent amount of damage. It's about 65,000 short of my best damage total that I've ever scored before in World of Warships, but not bad for a regular old battle. And the nice thing was, this was right around New Year's, so there was a 200, this was the weekend of New Year's Eve, and there was a 200% booster for your first win for the day, which this is pretty clearly going to be a win, so quite nice. And I knew I was going to put this one on YouTube as soon as the battle was about to end, so tried to race the enemy shell, or the friendly shells, up to that poor British cruiser there, but it was not to be. So between all the boosters and such, quite a nice score there, and there was premium time going on as well, so it was a 200% win booster, and there was a free premium for New Year's Day. So quite a nice score here, as you'll see. Second place with just 1 ship killed, but a pretty decent score. Pretty decent amounts of damage all across the way here for everybody that actually did damage. And my first real big score with a premium account, which I didn't renew, but... And then, spoiler, I forgot, this part was coming. My new baby. There she is. I also bought her while she was on sale, because they had all 8, 9s, and 10s on sale, and I had been waiting until I had enough money to buy the Lexington, so there she is in New York Harbor. And rest assured, you will probably see these thumbnails right here as video thumbnails again, because I'm almost certainly going to sail the Lexington a lot. So here I am, just having bought the Lexington, and figuring out how to switch a captain. I'd actually never moved a captain from one ship to another ship before, so I was going to do it the same way I usually did when I sell my old ship, from when I replace it with a new one, which was move that captain to the reserve, send a reserve, send him away, whatever it is, and then move one to the reserve slot, and then move him to the new, buy the new ship, put him on the old, sell the old ship, put him on the new ship, and then cancel sending away the old captain from the reserves. And then I realized that I'm going to keep both ships for now, at least. I can just move them back and forth. So there's all the captain skills. And then we'll skip ahead a little bit, and here is me picking up all the upgrades I had. Instead of trying to remember what they were, I decided to just record it and just add it into the video of the first sail out with the Lexington. So I had to kind of decide whether I was going to go with the AAA or the Air Group. I really think at this point I should have gone with the Air Group, but I did choose the AAA just because I figured... No, never mind. I thought I went with the AAA. I guess I didn't. I guess I went with the AA guns here is what I'm thinking of. So see, this is why I recorded it, because I couldn't remember it. I'm narrating this a couple days after the fact. So here I am just comparing and contrasting what I can do with each one. This is the one... Okay, yeah, aircraft servicing time is what I should have picked first. The one I picked was damage to aircraft guns. Now this is good. The AAA with extra distance is still a good thing. But I probably should have done the aircraft servicing to knock 10% off, because if I'm ever getting chased by a ship, I want my planes to land and take off faster. But oh well. As I'm most likely to be bombed or set on fire as an aircraft carrier, or torpedoed by enemy airplanes, I went with both of the damage control modifications here, so as I can lessen the possibility of getting flooded or set on fire and recover from it faster. I briefly considered putting the target acquisition system on here, but I decided that it was going to be a lot less useful for my aircraft carrier as it might be for a cruiser or even a destroyer. Probably a cruiser, maybe possibly a battleship. Most likely one of my good cruisers. So I decided to wait on the concealment modification because A, I didn't have enough money, and B, I kind of wanted to decide whether or not I wanted to use it. But there she is. She's a beauty. And here we are for my very first sail out in the Lady Lexington. The second aircraft carrier commission for the United States Navy. And I threw a Halloween camo on her, mostly because it's hilarious, but also because it's got really good bonuses. And I wanted to be able to have the best bonuses I possibly could for the first sail out.
Battle starts.
So as the sailing gets started, this is a Tier 10 battle, so I'm a Tier 8 aircraft carrier in a Tier 10 battle, which is not surprising in the least. I'm used to it somewhat from sailing my ARP Takao, which was my first Tier 8 out of the two Tier 8s that I now own. Of course, Lexington being 2. Just kind of warned the team not to expect too much out of me. Not so much because I don't know what I'm doing, but mostly because if the enemy carrier is a tier or 2 higher than me and has all of the upgrades and everything and modifications, this could go really poorly really quickly. So not so much to tell them not to expect anything out of me, but just to expect that my ship is completely stocked with the basic aircraft and the basic 3 air groups and no ship modifications or anything. Or no ship, well, the upgrades from the modules rather than the upgrades that I purchased and put on there that you saw me put on.
Waypoint.
At any rate. So this was kind of funny. The, Yo-Yo Rhubarb there, I'm not actually sure. I thought he was talking to me, and then somebody else starts answering too, and I don't... It gets to the point where I don't know who he's talking to. So it was actually pretty funny. And thankfully I did upgrade my range on my AAA, so at least I had some defense there. And I knew in the first battle I was going to stay a bit far back and not really press up too close behind the friendly fleet. So I told him to just go ahead and defend on the battleships. Just guard the battleships from destroyers and cruiser torpedoing, and we'll be fine. Turned out he was actually talking to me, but that's okay. But at any rate, they did at least get a couple of shootdowns. They had a little bit of help from some friendly AAA going on. So they did at least get a couple of air victories after losing all 6 of themselves. 5 out of 6. So I was going to send them back home, and then I debated, do I want to send a single fighter in after their torpedo planes, and realized kind of, well, he's not going to get there in time to do anything. And even if he does, he's probably going to get shot down, and then I'll have to wait even longer to get him respawned. So I'm just going to send him home, and sorry, torpedo attack victim. But as I did not get the upgraded air wing handling modification, I'm going to send my fighters home. And then keep my Lexington moving around to where I can get her hidden behind some rocks there, of which there are not many. And my air wing discovers the enemy Lexington, who has lost all of his fighters and probably is very close to having them rearmed by now. So when my fighters do relaunch, I'm going to get them up there as quickly as I can, and he definitely is a stock air wing modification as well, just like I am. Now that's not to say that he is a stock Lexington. He could just be using the air wing Mark 1, whatever it is, the basic air wing. But at least he doesn't have a strike package or the double fighter air superiority package. He's definitely not completely stock because he's got the extra AAA fire. My bombers actually hit with both of their bombs somehow and started 2 fires, so that's pretty good work for the 2 bomber pilots there. The torpedo wing did a pretty good job too, with 2 hits out of the 3 or 4 that they got off. They got shot down, but they did at least cause a flood on the Lexington. Of course, he saw it coming and was able to hold off his repair until after he took the torpedo hits and the floods, but at least I knocked about half his health down. So I've got about a minute to go before either one of my strike-type aircraft is up, but I've got the fighters are launching. I'm going to send them into where they've been primarily... The enemy air attacks have been focusing down at the 1 circle. Hope that my fighters can actually do something against the enemy strike aircraft. Hopefully give the my opposing CV captain some fits. And hopefully not run right into his fighters, which is basically what's going to happen, but at least I can maybe scatter his strikers and give him something to pay attention to while I reload my own strikers and launch them up for a follow-up attack on the enemy carrier. And if all I can do is engage his fighters, well then I'll engage his fighters, because at least that keeps his fighters off my strikers. Now the enemy ships, main capital type ships, and even the support ships are all playing extremely cautiously, except for the little 3 division there in the middle of the 2 circle, who are actually pushing aggressively and attacking, but we've got a Tirpitz and a pair of destroyers in pretty close working on them as well. They have knocked out the little installation thing there, so that's not helping us at the moment. But for the most part, we're doing really well and sitting awfully pretty here so far in this battle. I'm going to send my fighters up and around to try and get them in close to shadow the Lexington to keep him spotted so I know where he's going, and then pounce on any airstrikes that he launches off.
Our victory is in sight.
He's now being defended and escorted by a battleship, but I don't care. I'll go in there after him anyways. I'll attack the battleship if I have to. I was a little worried that the North Carolina was going to be well within range of annihilating my fighter group, and there's no point in just losing fighters to something like that, so I rerouted them around, send them in behind the North Carolina, and then north again, because I know there's not much in between there that's open. The center group attacking 2 has been whittled down pretty tight. I'm going to have my fighters go in and spot the Shimakaze, and then I change my mind and send them... I've got my torpedo planes and bombers going in at 2, so I'll have them just keep the Shimakaze spotted. And then the Lexington has been sunk, so I don't really have a need to go in after the carrier anymore, so now I'm going to line my guys up for spotting the destroyer down at the 2nd spot here. Since the destroyer is no longer visible and I haven't spotted him, I'm going to send the rest of my guys up to have my fighters go up and get some free cheap fighter kills, and there he is. Now he's discovered. Now I can have my guys go after him. He's the last destroyer left now that the Fletcher just went down, and I really want to finish him if I can. Missed just a little bit off with my bomber squadron, unfortunately. The good thing is I'm keeping him very well spotted, even though I'm losing planes to him. Keeping him spotted and letting my team go in after him and finish him off. Now, even though my torpedoes are probably not going to hit him right here, they did turn him away and force him off whatever path he was planning to be on, so good enough. Then I'll get my fighter squadron in to actually keep the guy spotted, because now he's going to hide out in the smoke. I thought he was before, but now he is for certain. So time to push my Lexington up closer to the fight, and try to do everything I can to support our friendlies, which there really isn't a whole lot more going on here that I can honestly do. I've got all the same aircraft that I had with the Ranger, so I'm used to what they can and can't do, especially against things like the North Carolina and the Magi, but... very much looking forward to... at this point, I've played 3 battles now with the Lexington. All 3 have gone... the second and third went much better than this one. In fact, the second battle is going to be a video of itself, because it was much better than this first one. The third one was pretty good too. It's still another pretty good score. This was the battle immediately following the previous one that I just showed you with the Ranger. I played both of these battles consecutively. So you can see the score reflecting from the still having premium account there. And there's the score I got. Not a terribly great auspicious debut for the Lexington. Just 2 planes shot down, not a lot of score, not a lot of damage done, but I'm getting a feel for her, and I think she's starting to like me back a little bit after the second and third battles I've done, so... pretty decent score. Thankfully it was premium, because that saved me about 25,000 credits there. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I look forward to bringing you some more Lexington battles soon, and more World of Warships. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you guys in the next video.